Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Victoria Highway 7 Virtual Open House. In August, the Victoria Highway 7 project will begin. In this unprecedented time with COVID-19, we are offering this virtual open house to maintain social distancing practices while continuing to connect with communities. MnDOT road work has been identified as a critical service in Governor Walz's stay-at-home executive order and will continue. We are working to be as flexible as possible with scheduling during this period of lower traffic volumes to keep projects moving forward in a timely manner. Following guidance from state health officials and to prevent further spread of COVID-19, crews will maintain social distancing practices while working. My name is Christine Dufour with MnDOT Metro's Communication and Engagement Team. I will serve as your moderator. Today, MnDOT Project Manager, Kurt Kobylarczyk, will serve as the presenter. For today's agenda, our panelists will include Kurt Kobylarczyk will be the presenter. He is the MnDOT Project Manager. Our panelists for the question and answer session will be Diane Langenbach, who is the MnDOT South Area Engineer. Kara Guerin is the Victoria City Engineer, and Allison Barrett will be the MnDOT Construction Engineer. We also have special guests with us today, Andrew Lutea, West Area Engineer, and Dave Eikens, Hennepin County Communications. Please welcome Kurt Kobylarczyk, who will be our presenter today.
Okay, hello everybody. Thanks, Christine. Thanks everybody for your interest in our project. This is not our traditional project, let's say, along Highway 7. You know, we're not going to be out there reconstructing the roadway. We're not going to be doing a mill and overlay out there. What we are going to do is we are going to protect our roadway and infrastructure for the future because we do not want to see the road fall into the lake and have to do an emergency fix in the future. So we are being proactive at this time. First of all, project location. So this project is located out in Victoria, Minnetrista area at Lake Zumbra. So there are actually two segments of Highway 7 that we will be improving the slopes at because of their past failures and their potential for future failures. So the first segment is along Lake Zumbra. That's going to be the focus of our discussion today because really that's the most impactful part of the project. So, and then otherwise the second part of the project is at Hawks Point Lane, and we will be doing the same fix at Hawks Point Lane as we are doing with Lake Zumbra. So keep that in mind as I'm running through the presentation. So first off, just a little bit about the project background. You know, this area, you know, several slope failures have occurred along Highway 7 in this area. You know, many times we find out by getting contacted by local residents, which is great. You know, it's really hard for us to see the actual failures, but with the storms and everything that have been increasing in the recent past, you know, this is becoming a problem out here. So what happens is the slope fails at one location, and then after it fails, you know, we send out the MnDOT maintenance forces. You know, they go out there and fix it. They'll add some big rocks and slope improvements to stabilize the slope. And then what happens after that's repaired, then the water just continues on and it finds its next weakest link. And that erodes, and that causes the next slope failure. And then we go back out there and so on and so forth. So it just continually keeps happening at this particular location. Limited solutions are available with the steep slopes along the lake is another concern. We looked at a lot of different solutions, but really there's only one that kind of rose to the top, and I will walk through that with you quickly. Another aspect of this project is, you know, there currently is no means to control or treat the stormwater that's leaving our roadway and entering the lake. So this is an opportunity for us to come in and do some improvements to that aspect of the area as well. So So this is an emergency project. You know, we are moving this up from 2021 to 2020 due to this urgency. The frequency of these failures is increasing and increasing, so now is the time to get out there and take care of this. So here I wanted to show you, here's existing highway, obviously. What I want to show you here is, so you can see the road is tipped towards the lake, both lanes at this particular location. So there is no curb and gutter, there's nothing along the edge of that roadway. So all this water gathers together, flows across the highway, sometimes really quickly with the large storms that we have, and then it just batters the slope along Highway 7 there. You can see on the top here under the guardrail, you know, this was a fix in the past here. This is some of the large rock that we put out there to stabilize the slope. I wanted to show you what happens up there on top of the slope. Okay, here's the next slide. So what I wanted to show you here is, so this is, you know, from the sky from Lake Zumbra looking to the north. You can see what's been happening out there. You can see that there are several areas of large rock that have been placed out there. So those are areas of failure that have happened in the past out there. And we see that as something that's going to continue in the future. So we really need to get out there and take care of this. This is a picture of a recent failure that's taken place out there. Not many of the drivers along Highway 7 are able to really kind of get the magnitude of the failures that we have out there. So as mentioned, you know, the water flows across the lake or across the roadway, and then right at the edge of the pavement, it just starts eroding. And then eventually the whole slope fails. You know, it fails vertically right at the edge of our road. So you can see the road pavement is exposed. The guardrail, you know, posts are exposed as well, and that material dumps in the lake. And then, as mentioned previously, we come out and we stabilize that with large rocks and other things as needed to keep our road safe. So the solution, we've looked at many different options. Some were really just very impactful to the lake, honestly. You know, we tried to find an option that was the right solution for us, that gave us a future for this roadway without failures, and just minimize the slopes to the lake and the impacts to the lake itself. So we're going to stabilize the highway slope to the lake. So what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild the shoulder that's out there today. It's a little 4-foot shoulder. We'll take that off, construct some storm sewer, curb and gutter, repave the shoulder, and this will help to maintain and improve the safety on this segment of Highway 7 into the future. Here's just a quick graphic of our solution. So if you look up in the upper left there, you'll see a 12-foot through lane. So picture yourself in a car driving into your monitor where it says 12-foot through lane, and then you're looking out to the right as you're driving along eastbound Highway 7, and you have a little 4-foot shoulder there, you have a guardrail, and then you have the really steep slope down to the lake, and then you have Lake Zumbra down at the bottom. So, you know, it is really, you know, as I mentioned, we looked at a lot of different things, a lot of different options. A lot of these options got into the slope quite a bit, and we got into the lake as well. So, you know, really there are a lot of the slope areas along that lake that are in good shape. It's not like the entire area is failing out there. It's just these really specific locations that have failed because of erosion. So what we're doing is we're going to come in and put curb and gutter up at the top of the slope. So you can see the curb and gutter shown there. And then we're going to have the guardrail as well. So we're going to try to keep the impacts at the top of the slope. There will be times when we have to go down further into the slope, but, you know, we're trying to minimize impacts to the trees as well, because we know that that is a buffer to the lake as well. Just a little bit about the project schedule. So back in March, you know, we needed to, because of the different environmental restrictions, we needed to have a separate contract to remove the trees required for the project. So the trees that were removed at that time, those are the trees that are going to be removed for our project. We had to remove several trees. We also had to remove branches that would impact the construction equipment and our highway as well. Also in this time, we've had initial meetings with cities and emergency responders, so those folks are all up to speed on our project and comfortable with the solution that we've proposed. In April, we actually, we like to go out in person, and we like to present to you folks in person. We like to go through all the details. You guys can ask us questions individually. We'd planned this open house to take place at Charleston Meadows. Obviously, we got caught up in COVID-19, and now we're going through this. So this was one of the first few presentations that we've done that we've done virtually. So, if I could just mention, somebody, if you can all just make sure to mute your phones or mute your speakers and such, that would be really helpful. For me, I'm catching a little bit of background noise right now. So, thank you very much. So now here we are today at the virtual open house. Coming up really soon here is we are going to be opening bids from contractors on June 26th. So 9 days from now, we're going to open bids. We're going to cross our fingers. Hopefully we get some good bids, and we'll move ahead with awarding to the contractor, and then we will go out and start construction in early August. So July 30th, we're anticipating having another open house. We'd like to have that in person if possible. Otherwise, it will be another virtual open house. And that'll be more focused on construction activities and specific timelines, because at that point, we'll have the contractor on board, and they'll have a really good plan for us as far as schedule and work activities. So August through October is the project construction this year. So I wanted to touch on some of the environmental considerations that we are doing with this project and what we've had to do with this project. So, as I mentioned, curb and gutter is going to help reduce the slope erosion up on top. That's also going to help us control where the stormwater is going as well. So this final solution minimizes those impacts to the lake shore. So we don't anticipate being down into the lake, except for possibly 3 locations where we need to replace some existing culverts and their aprons that are currently in the lake right now. So we are going to upgrade those to a much newer and improved apron. As mentioned, we've minimized the tree removals along there. So back to the storm sewer for a second. So, currently the water runs off the road, goes straight into the lake. There's no way of controlling it. There's, it just erodes dirt and it heads into the lake. So we're going to come in and collect that through a storm sewer that's going to take it to drainage structures. And within the drainage structures, there'll be sediment devices and contaminants will be able to be contained within those drainage structures before entering the lake. There's another device that we've included as well that'll collect floatable debris before it's transported to the lake. So, we look at this as a nice improvement along this lake shore. As you can imagine, since we are adjacent to Lake Zumbra or any lake for that matter, there's a lot of coordination that we do in delivering these projects, honestly. I mean, with the number of organizations and agencies that we work through, so we were coordinated and received approvals from Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, the Minnesota DNR, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Army Corps of Engineers, just to ensure that we are that the design meets or exceeds regulations. And, we've received all the proper approvals from all those agencies, and we are now ready to go. So as we start walking through the construction activities a little bit, the staging, so early August, we will start construction. The first activity that's going to take place out there is we'll shift traffic to the south a little bit, and we'll reconstruct the north shoulder of the road. Because what's going to happen is once that's beefed up, let's say, it's not thick enough to carry highway traffic right now. So we need to replace that with a much thicker pavement section. So that will carry westbound traffic during construction. There will be 2 weekend full closures in August to construct the culvert crossings. So as I mentioned, we have about 3 culvert crossings that will be taking water, discharging into Lake Zumbra. We do need to shut down the entire highway for that activity. with this project. So, we tried really hard to keep as much open as we could. For a while there, we were going to have to shut down the whole highway to do this work. But, we kept at it, kept working with our functional groups within MnDOT, and we came up with a solution that's going to minimize traffic impact as best we can. So we are going to keep the westbound Highway 7 is going to be open to traffic during construction. No impacts except for those 2 weekend closures. The one big change for drivers out there is we do need to close eastbound Highway 7 to traffic and follow a detour down to Highway 5. So I will show a graphic for that. The full closure of Highway 7 is going to be from Marywood Lane to Casamita Road. So once we reconstruct the shoulder, we get traffic switched, then we're able to establish our work zone, and then the contractor can move ahead efficiently to complete this project at that point in time. So, we're going to construct storm sewer, curb and gutter, shoulder, and new guardrail, and really that's our project. That's what we're going to be doing out there. Mid-October, we'd anticipate Highway 7 opening to eastbound and westbound traffic. So eastbound traffic will be closed for approximately 2 months during construction. All right, so here's our detour map. So if you're coming from the west on Highway 7 heading into the cities, you're going to come to that roundabout at Victoria Drive. At that roundabout, you will take a right and head down Carver County 11. We've done a lot of coordination with Carver County and had agreements and such to make sure that we're able to use their county road to take our Highway 7 eastbound traffic. So that traffic will go past Carver Park Reserve and come into Victoria on the west side at the Dairy Queen. As part of this project, we are going to have a temporary traffic signal at that location because of the increased traffic numbers. Highway 7 has about 15,000 vehicles per day, let's say roughly. There's 7,000 eastbound vehicles per day. So those vehicles will be finding a different route past Lake Zumbra. So you'll come in on Highway 5 and take a left and go through downtown Victoria and continue on, and the signing will take you past Rolling Acres Road, past Minnewaska Parkway, past the Arboretum, into Chanhassen, and then take a left onto Highway 41, and that'll take you back up to Highway 7. It is anticipated that a lot of that traffic may just continue on Highway 5. Once you're on Highway 5, depending where you're going, it may be just easier at that point in time to continue on Highway 5 in towards the city. So this is kind of a busy drawing, but what I wanted to show here was this is the full detour. So my cursor, is at the roundabout on Highway 7, and you'll travel south down to Highway 5 and then continue on to the east. So what I wanted to show here was, really there aren't a lot of options for detours, unfortunately. You have Lake Minnetonka on the north. There really isn't a road that we can detour traffic up there. And then to the south, it's a combination of county highway and MnDOT trunk highway for our detour route. So I zoomed in a little bit here because I just want to show you some of the access points that are currently out there that may or may not be impacted by the project. So, for example, if you go to Lake Minnetonka Regional Park, if you're coming south on Hennepin County Road 44, you're not going to be able to take a left to go into the city. So you're going to have to take a right, go up to the roundabout, and follow the detour. That's going to be the same for Charleston Meadows. Same thing, because the road is going to be fully closed from Marywood all the way to Casamita as far as eastbound Highway 7. So at Marywood, you're not going to be able to take a left to go into the city. You'll have to take a right and then find another route or follow the posted detour to get into the city. So now for those residents that live on the east side, such as Casamita Road, Zumbra Drive, Bay Cliff, Virginia Drive. Those residents, you'll have the same access that you have today out there. You'll have full access. You can go to the right, you can go to the left, you can go eastbound, westbound on Highway 7. So, and then you can see Hawks Point is down here in the lower right corner. That's the other portion of our project. I don't want to forget about little Hawks Point over here. We are not closing Highway 7 at Hawks Point. There is enough width there in that road that we're able to get traffic through there without shutting it down. So really no impacts over there at Hawks Point. So some of the traffic impacts I kind of want to summarize with you. I just went through some of them, but there's no safe way to keep Highway 7 open during construction. As I mentioned, we were going to have to close the whole thing at one point in time, but we were able to change that through a lot of discussions internally. The posted highway detour, we'll use Victoria Drive to Highway 5 to 41, temp signal at Dairy Queen. 2 weekend full closures, we touched on that. All these accesses that you see here, Zumbra Drive, Casamita, Bay Cliff, Virginia, will be open to access as they are today. Marywood Lane just will not be able to take a left to go out of the neighborhood. Residents and emergency services will have full access at all times during construction. That's something that's standard for all of our projects. One thing to note here, as you're probably aware, but Hennepin County, County Road 19, the Narrows Bridge is being reconstructed this summer. So that project is currently using Highway 7 as its detour route. So it will not be completed by the time that we shut down eastbound Highway 7. So their detour will be using our detour for, 2 or 3 weeks, I think, is what's planned. So there will be some impacts with that. And that covers the information that I wanted to cover. I will turn it over to Christine now for the next portion of the presentation.
Hello, and thank you, Kurt. Yes, for more information, we do have the project website, and that will be, we update that anytime there's a traffic impact, and we try to keep that updated as we move forward. You can also sign up for email updates by using this link. You can also find this link on the project webpage, which is mn.gov/metro/project/Highway 7 Victoria. Also, you can contact myself, Christine Dufour, at christine.dufour-iverson@state.mn.us, or give me a call. So we have reached the question and answers portion of our presentation. And just a reminder, our panelists are Kurt Kobylarczyk, MnDOT Project Manager, Diane Langenbach, MnDOT South Area Engineer, Kara Guerin, Victoria City Engineer, Allison Barrett, MnDOT Construction Engineer. And so we will go to our first question. So if you give me a moment. Okay, so we have a question from an attendee. Do you feel higher lake levels of Zumbra over the recent years has negatively impacted the situation? Where are the locations of the 3 new culverts? Kurt?
Okay, so this is Kurt. So we did look at that. We looked at it with our foundation staff and our materials folks, the different functional groups within MnDOT. Really what we found is, things appeared to be stable along there, and it was more up at the top that was causing the issues. So it's more of a failure from the top than from the bottom is what we found, and we think that's only going to improve with our solution. And as far as the locations, I think they're approximately at the locations that they're at today out there. I don't really have a graphic to show you, but there's 3 of them. I believe they're more towards the east side of the lake than the west side of the lake is my recollection. So you can contact me if you'd like more information on that. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Thank you, Kurt. We have another question from an attendee. As a result of this project, will the volume of water directly running off Lake Zumbra be mitigated in any way?
Yep, so thanks for that question. Yeah, as I touched on in my presentation, we have, this having storm sewer and drainage structures and curb and gutters allowing us to take control over the stormwater on the project. We are able to direct that water, and then we are going to have drainage structures that'll be placed along the curb and gutter. Those drainage structures that are the ones that are at the final connection to the lake, as I mentioned, I think probably 3 locations. We will have things built into those. We'll have a sumped manhole at the bottom that's going to collect some of the sediment. We're also going to have a treatment device in there too that helps with the sedimentation settlement. And then we have that other built into the structure. We have something to control the floatables going into the lake as well. So, as you know, being in the area out there, it's really complicated. I think we've done everything that we can. I wish we could find a location for a pond, kind of do our traditional treatment that's out there, but I think we're doing all we can do at this location. So thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. We have a follow-up question to that question. Will the quality of the water runoff be improved in any way?
The quality of the water improved? Is that what was asked?
I believe, I think that it's
okay.
The water that's running off into the lake. Will it be improved prior to reaching the lake?
Yep. So it will be improved. I mean, currently what's happening is the water's running directly off the edge of our road. It's eroding. There's dirt, other objects going down into the lake from the erosion. Not to mention there's no treatment there at all, right? It's just all going directly into the lake about 15 feet away. So our drainage structures are going to be able to collect some of that sediment. Some of the heavier particles will settle within our drainage structures before entering the lake. So there will be an improvement to the overall quality.
Thank you, Kurt. We have another question from an attendee. County Road 19 is detoured to 44 right now. Will it be done before this starts, or will these projects overlap and create more traffic issues? Kurt?
So I touched on this in my my presentation as well. So 44 is now open going into Mound, but now 19 is closed because of the Narrows Bridge reconstruction. So there will be some detoured traffic because of that closure. And obviously there's only like 3 locations to get around that lake going north-south, right? It's like 101 and 19 and 44. So they are going to be, routing traffic out on Highway 7 towards our project. So they'll be getting a lot of their work done before our project starts. I believe their project is underway right now, but it will not be completed by the time that we start. So we will have, 2-3 weeks or so roughly of intermingling traffic there with the 2 detours. That's correct.
Thank you, Kurt, for addressing that and expanding on your comments from your presentation. We have another question from an attendee. After the project is completed, how will high lake levels on Lake Zumbra affect the work done to help mitigate erosion? Kurt?
Yes, hello. I was just kind of rereading that one here. So after the project is completed, how will high lake levels on Zumbra affect the work done to help mitigate erosion? So there's really not much that we can do, right, as far as the water, the lake levels on Lake Zumbra. But, we do need to take care of our road, as best we can. So I think our thoughts on that are that the high lake levels aren't what's causing the instability of our slopes. It's the items up on top of the slope that are creating the erosions. So we're up several 8 to 10 feet or so higher than the lake levels are. So all of our work is going to be done up much higher than the lake and the high water levels that are out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. We have another question from another panelist. Can you share your analysis of what areas failed? Our observations seem to support failure of the bank at the lake level versus the top, like you mentioned. And then there's a request for email of this analysis, which I'm sure we can provide. Kurt, do you have any comments on that? You may not have this data on your fingertips, but do you have any observations or comments for this? Sure.
Yep. So thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have to work with our foundations unit and our materials unit to look into that for you, Scott. But please send me an email, and I will track those down. We can have a follow-up discussion with you to talk about that. But yeah, it's our belief that it's up on top. That's what my experts have told me throughout this process. So, but yeah, I'd love it. Just follow up with me, and we will share the information that we have. Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. We do have one last, we have more questions coming through here. Please remember to add your comments to the chat, and we will ask them of our fine panelists. Let's see here. Excuse me. How do persistent lake levels above OHWL impact the erosion? Last year, due to the lake of controls of Lake Zumbra, was above OHWL for 113 days. Kurt?
Yep, so I don't know the entire history of Lake Zumbra. I don't know what the average is for how many days per year that it's above the ordinary high water level. I really don't. But as far as what we've seen with our staff that's been out there, we think that we have the fix that we need to stabilize our road. As I mentioned to Scott's mention there too, I'd like to follow up with you, Dick, further about your thoughts on that as well.
Thank you, Kurt. We have another question regarding the bank. Is the bank itself going to be reinforced with large rock to hold the bank secure? Kurt?
So it's going to be reinforced at certain locations out there. We're not going to go along and reinforce the entire slope along the lake. I think we felt that there's a lot of actually good slope out there. We didn't want to get in and do a total recon, take down all the trees, all the vegetation, and go out there and redo the entire lake shore. When actually it's fairly stable at those other locations. So will we have large rock? Yes, we'll have it at areas that have already failed out there, but you won't be seeing large rock through a large majority of the shoreline.
Thank you, Kurt. We have another question from an attendee. How dependent are you on MCWD to provide control of lake levels? We were told that there was no value to controlling elevations on the lake by MCWD. Do you have any more information on that, Kurt? Our drainage forces at MnDOT have been working closely with Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. There's really
we're not really involved too much in the lake level situation that's out there. You know, we have our road. It's going to be the same after the project's done as it is right now. We're doing all the improvements that we can with storm sewer. So really, you know, I think we feel that at this point in time, we are doing the best fix out there. If we had a project that we were going to go out there and rebuild the entire highway through there, you know, maybe there would be a different solution possibly, but this is where we're at today, and this is what we feel is needed for us to confidently move forward and keep the road infrastructure in place for the future.
Thank you, Kurt.
And I'm sorry, Dick, I can't answer your second part of the question. I guess you'll have to talk to Minnehaha Creek Watershed District about that. So thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. So at this point, we don't have any more questions in the comment. Oh, yes, we do. I apologize. What detour traffic do you expect on Rolling Acres Road? Kurt, your thoughts? So, Kurt, I'm not quite sure if you heard me or if your audio is disconnected.
I am so sorry. I was on mute. I'm sorry about that. I did a lot of talking, so to myself. So I would like to turn this one over to Diane Langenbach. She is the MnDOT South Area Engineer. She has been in discussions related to those neighborhoods along Rolling Acres Road, and she's had other projects in the area as well. So Diane, could you please answer that question?
Sure, thanks, Kurt. At this point, we are not going to be posting any detour on Rolling Acres Road. As Kurt mentioned in his presentation, the detour will use County Road 11 to Highway 5 and back up Highway 41. Now, we do know that especially locals in the area sometimes will use the local roadways instead. So we will be paying attention to extra traffic both on Rolling Acres Road and on Minnewaska Parkway. I know we are also working with the City of Victoria, and Kara can speak to this, to make sure that we kind of watch speeds along there too, not only the additional traffic, but the speeds of that traffic. And I know the city is working on trying to get those dynamic speed signs installed to kind of help with that. And I should mention too that we know that, you know, getting the traffic from the County Road 19 Narrows Bridge project is not ideal. We looked at a lot of different options to see if we could come up with something, and they couldn't start their project any sooner, and we couldn't start ours any later. So what we tried to do is just minimize the overlap, and we are really hoping that's not going to be more than 2 weeks or so. So we will be monitoring all the other roadways too, just to make sure everything is flowing okay.
Thank you, Diane. We have another question from an attendee. This may be a Diane question. With the detour on Highway 41, have you considered the school zones for Minnetonka Middle School West during drop-off and pickup of students and their safety?
Sure, yep, I can respond to this one. You know, we've been working with the Minnetonka Middle School West quite a bit to make that intersection safer, not only for vehicles, but also for the pedestrians at that pedestrian crossing. And I was concerned about that location, so I had our traffic modeling group take a look at how much additional traffic we would expect to see because of this detour. And actually, when they ran the model, it really showed a pretty minimal amount of additional traffic at that intersection. A lot of times, I think what's happening is once people are on Highway 5, because you end up in the same Eden Prairie location, we think a lot of people will end up just staying on Highway 5 instead of taking that northbound 41 route back up to Highway 7. So right now, we're not foreseeing a big problem, but I am working with the principal there just to make sure that we do keep an eye on that intersection.
Thank you, Diane. We have another question from an attendee. Many residents in the area have endured the delay of opening County Road 44 over the last construction seasons. Any concern about the schedule of this project? Is there float built into the schedule and or incentives for the contractor? Diane or Kurt?
Yes, Allison will be able to answer this one. So Allison?
Yeah, so all of our projects have float built into their schedule, you know, for weather delays and whatnot. And then there aren't very many concerns for the schedule, no. It's a pretty simple project, just kind of impactful to the traffic in the community area is all. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Thank you, Allison. Let's see if we have any more questions. Let's see. Okay, it looks as if I'll continue to check this. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to add it into the chat box. Kara, I'd like to see if you have any questions that you've collected from the community.
Thank you. The one question that I think maybe hasn't been covered yet is relating to all the traffic detouring to Highway 5. Will there be any opportunity to revisit the signal timing on 5 since it's such a challenge already in the AM in particular? Maybe Diane could take that one.
Sure, I can take that. Usually what we do is, as you likely know, is we allow the project to start and get into it for a couple days, and then we definitely monitor those signalized intersections. We do have cameras out in the area now, so we will be watching those, and there's certainly an opportunity for us to do some retiming. We do understand this is a lot more traffic coming through Victoria, and you've already got a lot of congestion through there. So we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on those signals, both at County Road 11 and then also at Rolling Acres. So we will be watching those and adjusting those if needed. I think Kurt mentioned this. Maybe I'll just mention it again. That intersection as you're going south on County Road 11, when you reach Highway 5 there by the Dairy Queen and you have to make that left, we are putting up a temporary signal at that intersection so that we make sure that cars can make that turn safely. So that's a little bit different. There's not a signal at that intersection right now, but that'll be there throughout construction.
Thank you, Diane. Any other questions, Kara?
No, I think they were all covered. Other than I know somebody's going to ask me what it would take to get that temporary signal to remain in place.
I knew you would say that, Kara. You know, that's we don't like to even add signals to begin with, just because any kind of change in traffic control can lead to accidents and crashes. So it won't be easy to be kept there, but I know we'll be working together to see what we can come up for that intersection in the future.
Oh,
Christine,
I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. I wasn't on mute myself. We have another question from attendee. Did I hear correctly that the traffic through Victoria will be increased by 15,000 per day? Kurt, can you clarify that statement?
I can clarify that, yeah. So good question. That's the approximate traffic on Highway 7, both directions. So we've done some counts. It's going to be about 7,000 vehicles per day addition that go through Victoria, and not 15,000. Thanks.
So it's 15,000 per day, the normal traffic level?
That's both directions on Highway 7 today. We're taking the eastbound and directing it down to Highway 5. So that's approximately 7,000 vehicles per day that are going on eastbound Highway 7. They'll need to go down the detour.
We should also just keep in mind that our traffic volumes are lower right now just because of COVID. And if some of that continues to, it very well may be less than that 7,500.
Thank you. We have another question from an attendee. If we continue to have bank slides after the work is completed, what would be the next move to mitigate the slides? Kurt, can you answer that?
So, well, I'm a glass full guy, so I think that is the right solution, and that we will have minimal slides in the future. Obviously, a slide out there that are, if it's going to impact our roadway, we need to go out there and do something to make sure that Highway 7 does not get closed in the future. So we're not able to ignore it. If it's impacting the slopes of our road, if it's impacting the integrity of the pavement of our road, we will have to go back out there and take a second look at it.
Thank you, Kurt. It looks like that is the last of the questions, but we do have a comment that says, thank you everybody for your time and all the valuable information. And I also want to thank all of our panelists, Kurt Kovalarczyk, Diane Langenbach, Kara Guerin, Allison Barrett. We also have Dave Akins and Andrew Lutea, who joined us. Again, thank you for joining MnDOT's virtual open house today. We really appreciate and look forward to working with you and your community this summer. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to the City of Victoria for their partnership. You'll find more information on MnDOT's project site, www.mndot.gov/metro projects/Highway 7 Victoria. Remember to register for the e-news project updates and invite your friends and neighbors to join. Also, please feel free to contact me at the email address provided. One last thing, we will be having a second open house in July, and you will be receiving a postcard soon regarding the details for that. And lastly, within a week, probably closer to 2 weeks, we will have this video updated and available both on the city site and on the MnDOT project page. And you'll be able to share that with your friends, neighbors, and community. And if they have questions, feel free to share my contact information, and we'll get back to them as soon as possible. With that, I'd like to thank you, and have a great day.